Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back with another video. Finally, it looks like my YouTube is back on properly because recently the screen's been black for some reason. I don't know why. So I couldn't see myself, so I don't know if people watching could see. So apologies for that technical issue, which seems to be a problem which YouTube had itself. So I don't know if other people, other content creators or whatnot, or in my case, wannabe content creators, had the same problem or not. But anyway, sorry, I'll try not to waffle. This is an idea I had for quite some time, probably about, I can't exactly remember, but I think about a month, maybe a month and a half, or even a couple of months ago, which is to have a list of who I would class as my legends, i.e. people who support my plans or works or whatever, goals and whatnot the most. Hope it's not too narcissistic of me, but if I'm honest, but I do fear that, and I know a lot of people are probably like, I don't really care if I'm in this list or not, which is fair enough. But it's sort of a way to give thanks or say thank you to those who support me. It took me a while. I did want to do it in February to have that sort of list, but I'm thinking of making like a point system or whatever, and trying to get around to doing that. So it might be in May, from May the 27th. And the reason why it's the 27th is because that's a number I think of, like, as in rewarding, which could be like giving thanks or whatnot. So anyway, recently I thought, what if I have like a list of categories to make this sort of official. But so maybe I want to update it and say who would be on my legends list. So one of my sisters gave the suggestion of like doing a countdown. So going from 40, because my usual 4-part videos, which is from 40 down to 1, obviously 1 being the best of this list of legends. And then the GOAT being the top. So within a group of categories who support my plans, goals, aims, objectives, or whatnot. So yeah, like my usual 4-part videos, but the first one would be 40 down to 31, and then 30 down to 21, and then 21 down to 11, and then 11 down to 1. And then at the end of that video, maybe I could even make a separate video for the GOAT, which is the greatest of all time. Although each month, if it changes, it's probably not officially really technically the GOAT, but it could change over time depending on who supports my plan. So it's a way to give thanks. Again, I hope it doesn't sound too narcissistic, but for the risk. Anyway, here are a list of the categories, which is not a countdown. This is just the categories of things that they could be legends and should call GOATs in. So here goes. So number 1, whoever supports Italian football, whether that's supporting me and my goals for supporting Italian football, like helping me to travel, helping me to share my ideas, coaching strategies, general strategies and theories about football, or ways to benefit Italian football anyway, or whatnot, whether that's helping me personally or even just helping Italian football. I hope to have a list basically, as say, of the top 40, going from 40 all the way to number 1. Obviously being on Legends list, I hope would be an honour for many, at least for as many people as possible, and even organisations, companies, and stuff like that. And on the subject of categories, I'm probably overcomplicating it here as usual, but they could also be like for spiritual or religious groups, political parties, businesses, or maybe even charities and NGOs, or other such organisations, or whoever. So it could be for different groups and organisations, even poets, artists, writers, or whatnot, who support this goal. Obviously, in this case, I don't imagine FAs from, i.e. football associations from other countries like England, Spain, France, Portugal, Germany, Brazil, or anywhere else would want to support this goal. But any business or political party, even if they're not really into football, they might, for instance, they might want to sponsor Italian football or whatever. But basically, I would say a GOATs list, a legends list, and then with the GOAT being on a category of its own. But again, that could change over time depending on who sponsors and invests in and whatnot Italian football. So basically, those who benefit Italian football the most and whether that's helping me to benefit town football or just benefiting town football directly. I hope that makes sense. Number two, the same for Celtic, and again, I often talk about like how I say again in the past I talked about how I'd love for town football and Celtic to have a partnership. So I did say other FAs from other nations would not want to benefit that idea, but maybe Celtic could look at how they could benefit town football and vice versa they could, with that partnership, hopefully. But either way, anyone who benefits town football the most, again, a list of the top 40 and then the GOAT, which is quite, it would be quite fitting as I'm 41 now, unfortunately, believe it or not. I might not act it, but I am. Number three, the third category would be whoever supports libertarianism, freedoms, and things like that. It'd be interesting, like say, for instance, to look at religions and see which religion has the least rules, for instance, and that'd be great to have a list. And similar again with political parties, which political parties have the least rules, the least laws to follow and stuff like that. I don't know if you can have such a category for business. Maybe you could, I don't know, maybe a business could try and be dictatorial or whatnot. Number four, those who support my goals to another of my, basically these are my 5 causes which I'm talking about. Whoever supports former colonies. Number 5, whoever supports the tackling of poverty and alleviating of suffering. Over time, I hope to have lists of the legends for each of these things, but obviously that will take a long period of time. So that's probably something I need to live for and give me a purpose in life. That over time, I hope to have this these sorts of lists. A lot of time, if I'm honest, I don't know if this is a secret sort of, but I'll probably mention this a few times on which I maybe or plan to get around to it. But a lot of time I've suffered from depression and sometimes still do, obviously. But I keep saying obviously. But yeah, one of the things that gives me a will to keep going on, I suppose, other than fears or whatever about the afterlife or whatever, is like my goals and causes. When I've thought, and I think this does work. That when I think of the charitable work I want to do, or even the selfish plans or whatever, they sort of give me a purpose and maybe get out of bed in the morning or in the afternoon or whatever. But yeah, they give me a reason for living. So anyway, sorry that was a bit morbid, I know. But number 6, whoever supports my works or plans, generally my goals, any of my goals that I work on, gives me. And with these lists, I suppose I'm not saying people or organisations or whatever should do this or would be interested in doing this, because it would depend on them as individuals or as organisations or whatnot. But if anyone, if and when anyone gave me shelter, accommodation, or supporting me with like food or drink or especially healthy stuff or tasty stuff. I suppose unfortunately I have a bit of a sweet tooth, so I'm not always the most healthy. I was going to say initially in my intro I should be drinking water, because I'd probably age half as quickly if I had a better diet, but unfortunately I'd have a very bad diet and a sweet tooth and a bad diet generally. But anyone who gave me those sorts of things, or rest or things like, or whoever I think supports me generally to make my life easier, like to provide shelter, food and drink. So I think if I reward people who support my writing and work, I definitely think I should have a list of, and just general reward for those who help me with providing food, shelter, drink, warmth and things like that, and rest and whatnot. Possibly those who don't ask me to do too much and things like that. Number 8, those who I suppose who show me love and positivity and things like that, those who show me they're on my side and those who I feel I can trust. 8 sort of reminds me of hate, but I turn it around to a positive, so that's why I turn it from hate to love. Hope that makes sense. As ever. Number 9, anyone who supports me with my paperwork and writing and stuff like that. One of the things I'd like to do, and this is probably something I've mentioned quite a few times, so I know I'm very repetitive, but is any poet, artist, writer, political or religious or spiritual or business group or whatever, or organization or association or group generally or whatever, who supports my writing. Each line they help me to write, I would love to return the favor by writing a line of whatever they want me to write, whether that's scriptures or text, or whether that's something, again, if the Muslims help me, if if Muslims help me, it would be from the Quran, and if Christians help me, Christos, or whatever you call them, and the politest possible way, I would love to share something from the Bible if they want me to, so their favourite Bible verses or whatever. For instance, each line they help me to write, I would share a verse or whatever, and that kind of thing. So I hope that makes sense. But anyone who's supported me in my writing the most, again, I hope to have a list of the top 40 legends, and then the GOAT, and especially the GOAT, as I say, and especially those who help me to do something practical and productive with that writing. So help me to make use of what I write, and if it is going to get ripped or torn or damaged or thrown away, at least I would have a use of that, whether that's a picture or recording or whatever, that shows, so that I can use the ideas I actually write rather than not be used. I know I have my hoarding problem and stuff like that. So I suppose the support for my writing, or the desire for people to support my writing, is one of the inspirations for these sorts of goals and lists of like the legends and the GOAT and that kind of thing. But I thought, let's say, for instance, if people don't want to support, they say my writing, because they say it takes up too much space, the hoarding and that kind of thing gets in other people's way. That's the reason why, a large part of the reason why I'm including other things, because sometimes I forget that the writing as well, there's a point for the writing, which is to try and make the world a better place and things like that. Some of it's selfish, but most of it is to try and make the world a better place, as well as expressing myself and that kind of thing. But anyway, moving on, number 10, those who support young people. Again, I want to have a legends and GOAT list on those who support young and vulnerable and disadvantaged people, including possibly disabled people, for instance, and that kind of thing. So I'm hoping to have like a point system and try and organize it. It could be those who fundraise the most for these sorts of things, or donate to, or fund, or sponsor this sort of thing, these sorts of things, or whatnot, or whatever point system I come up with. For instance, those who help me maybe to travel to Italy, share my ideas, football, or to Celtic or wherever, which is based in Glasgow. But yeah, I'm hoping to put it together over time, and hopefully from the 27th of May, maybe I could have like my first list, and it could be like for those who have benefited Italian football, and then afterwards it could be for those who benefit Celtic the month after, so in June, and so on and so forth. So hopefully over time, let's say, I will have a list for each of these things. So those who are interested in being on the list, I hope they'll support those goals and causes. But if they're not on the list, I don't think they should blame me, because I'll try and do it as fairly as possible. And on that note, I was thinking it's very hard to be completely fair, because those with more money, resources, space, or whatnot, have more ability. But c'est la vie, that's life, as they say. It's difficult to make it completely fair. But anyway, this is nearly 13 minutes long, so I'm going to wrap here. I don't want to be on the unlucky 13, so I'm out. Peace out.